Some songs do more than climb the charts. They announce the arrival of something entirely new. The 1970s gave us breakthrough moments when unknown voices walked into recording studios and walked out as legends. Here are 10 debut songs from the 1970s that created new music legends. Number 10. Blitzkrieg Bop by Ramones. Four young men from Queens walked into Plaza Sound Studios in New York City in February 1976, with just $6,400 and 17 days to record an album. They only needed 7 days. What emerged would help define punk rock for generations to come. The Ramones had been playing New York's club scene since 1974, particularly at CBGB in the Bowery. While progressive rock bands stretched songs past 10 minutes with complex solos, the Ramones stripped everything down to raw, fast, loud basics.
Let's go! Let's go!
Drummer Tommy Ramone wrote the music and that memorable opening chant. The idea came from the Bay City Rollers' 1973 hit Saturday Night, which opened with a catchy chant. Walking home from the grocery store one day, Tommy came up with those 4 words that would echo through rock history. The band recorded their entire debut album in 7 days. The total running time was barely 29 minutes for 14 songs. Everything defied 1970s rock conventions. While other bands pursued musical sophistication, the Ramones proved 3 chords, and raw energy could be just as powerful. Released as a single in February 1976, then as the opening track on their April debut album, the song didn't conquer charts. The album only reached number 111 on the Billboard 200. But young musicians across America and Britain heard those 3 chords and realized you didn't need years of music school to start a band. The song became a rallying cry beyond music. Those 4 simple counts became as iconic as any guitar solo from that decade. Sports stadiums still blast it today. The song appears at number 92 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time. Number 9. Hold the Line by Toto. The cream of Los Angeles session musicians decided in 1977 they were tired of making other people's records. David Paich, Steve Lukather, Jeff Porcaro, David Hungate, Steve Porcaro, and Bobby Kimball had played on countless hits, backing everyone from Boz Scaggs to Steely Dan. Now they wanted their own shot. Keyboardist David Paich came up with the song while toying with a piano riff at home. The opening piano line came first, those distinctive triplet A notes that would become instantly recognizable. After playing the riff, he started singing about love and timing. The lyric fit perfectly. The band spent 9 months in the studio working on their debut, bringing session player perfectionism to their own material. They wanted every note perfect. These weren't garage band rookies. They were professionals who knew exactly what they wanted. When Columbia released the single in October 1978, it became an immediate hit, climbing to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 14 in the UK. Drummer Jeff Porcaro called it a perfect example of heavy metal chord licks mixed with piano triplets and a Sly Stone groove, brought together by Bobby Kimball's New Orleans vocals. The debut album went double platinum, earning a Best New Artist nomination at the 1979 Grammys. This single established Toto as far more than skilled session players. They were legitimate hitmakers who understood how to blend sophistication with commercial appeal. Number 8. Dream On by Aerosmith. A teenage Steven Tyler sat at a Steinway upright piano in Sunapee, New Hampshire, around 1965. He was perhaps 17 or 18, years from forming Aerosmith. The chords he played would eventually define an entire career. Tyler's father was a Juilliard-trained pianist. As a young child, Steven would lie beneath his father's piano, absorbing classical compositions. Those experiences shaped his understanding of melody. The dramatic progressions in this power ballad came directly from that classical influence. Tyler completed the lyrics at 14, expressing his hunger to be somebody. The song wouldn't see release until June 27, 1973, on Aerosmith's debut album. Columbia Records had signed them, but was focused on promoting another new artist, Bruce Springsteen. Recording in October 1972, Tyler needed a specific keyboard sound, but couldn't afford it. He found a suitcase of cash outside their Boston apartment and used it to buy a $2,000 keyboard. The money belonged to organized crime figures. Armed men showed up demanding it back, but the building manager, a Vietnam veteran with a sword, made them retreat. The June 1973 single peaked at number 59 nationally. In Boston, it hit number 1 for the year on WBZ-FM. Despite this regional success, Columbia nearly dropped the band. Critics dismissed them as Stones imitators. In late 1975, Columbia re-released the song. The full album version debuted at 81 in January 1976, broke into the top 40 on Valentine's Day, and peaked at number 6 in April 1976. That re-release saved Aerosmith's career. The song has since surpassed 1 billion Spotify streams and entered the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2018. Rolling Stone ranked it number 199 on their updated 500 Greatest Songs list. It became the blueprint for every power ballad that followed. Number 7. Take It Easy by Eagles. Glenn Frey and Jackson Browne were sitting in an Echo Park apartment in Los Angeles in 1971, working on a song that Browne had started but couldn't quite finish. Browne had the opening verse and the general feel, but something was missing. Frey helped complete it, adding crucial elements that made the song work, and that collaboration became the debut single for a new country rock band forming in Southern California. The Eagles had come together through their work as Linda Ronstadt's backing band. Don Henley, Glenn Frey, Bernie Leadon, and Randy Meisner were all accomplished musicians who decided to strike out on their own. They needed a perfect opening statement, something that would immediately establish their sound and aesthetic to the world.
Don't let the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy.
Released in May 1972, the single captured everything that made the early 1970s California sound so appealing. The harmony vocals were pristine and perfectly balanced. The guitar work blended country picking and rock energy seamlessly. The lyrics painted pictures of highways and freedom that resonated deeply with the post-hippie generation, trying to figure out where America was heading after the tumultuous 1960s. Bernie Leadon's banjo added a distinctive touch that set the song apart from standard rock fare. The instrumental break showcased the band's musical versatility without showing off. Everything served the song rather than individual egos, which would become a hallmark of their early work together. The song peaked at number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100, a strong showing for a debut single. But its impact went far beyond chart performance. It established the Eagles' template, impeccable musicianship, strong songwriting, and that blend of country roots with rock energy that would make them one of the decade's most successful acts. The Corner in Winslow, Arizona mentioned in the song, has since become a tourist attraction, complete with a statue and a park celebrating the band's first hit. That kind of cultural impact is rare for any band, let alone from their debut single. The song announced the Eagles as serious contenders who understood both the craft of songwriting and the art of performance. Number 6. Maggie May by Rod Stewart. Rod Stewart was hardly unknown in 1971. He'd been fronting the Faces since 1969 and had released 2 solo albums before. But everything changed with his third solo record, Every Picture Tells a Story, and its unexpected breakout single that would redefine his entire career trajectory. Stewart recorded the song almost as an afterthought during the album sessions. Mercury Records initially planned to make Reason to Believe the single, with this track about an older woman and a younger man relegated to the B-side. But radio DJs had other ideas. They started flipping the record over and playing the song that told a more compelling story, one that resonated with listeners in unexpected ways.
You stole my heart, and that's what really hurts.
The acoustic guitar intro, played by Martin Quittenton, immediately grabbed listeners' attention with its distinctive finger-picking pattern. Then Stewart's raspy, lived-in vocal delivery told a story that felt authentic and personal. The narrative of a young man's relationship with an older woman resonated with audiences, in a way the planned A-side never could have managed. The mandolin solo in the middle, unexpected in a rock context, added a folk element that set it apart from typical radio fare of the time. Everything about the arrangement supported the storytelling without overwhelming it, letting Stewart's voice and narrative take center stage. By October 1971, the song hit #1 on both sides of the Atlantic simultaneously. It was the first time both a single and its parent album topped the charts in both the US and UK at the same time. Stewart was suddenly one of the biggest stars in rock music, his face everywhere, his voice unmistakable on every radio station. The song's success wasn't just about commercial achievement or chart positions. It established Stewart's persona as a storyteller, someone who could craft narratives about real relationships and real emotions with both humor and heart. That approach would sustain a career spanning decades and selling over 100 million records worldwide. Stewart later admitted he'd never been completely satisfied with the recording, feeling they'd rushed it. But that rough-edged quality actually enhanced its authenticity. It sounded like a story someone was telling you over drinks at a pub, not a carefully polished studio creation. Number 5. Wuthering Heights by Kate Bush. Kate Bush was just 19 years old when EMI released her debut single in January 1978. The song she'd written, inspired by Emily Bronte's Gothic novel, was unlike anything on contemporary radio. Her voice soared into ranges most pop singers wouldn't even attempt, hitting notes with a dramatic intensity that matched the passionate literary source material. The production by Andrew Powell created a theatrical soundscape of piano, strings, and layered vocals that was both lush and unsettling. Pink Floyd's David Gilmour had discovered Bush and helped get her demo tape to EMI. The label signed her when she was just 16, then gave her time to develop as an artist before pushing for a release. That patience paid off when this extraordinary debut single entered the UK charts. The song climbed steadily through February 1978, eventually reaching #1 in March. Kate Bush became the first female artist to achieve a UK #1 with a self-written song. That accomplishment alone would have been historically significant, but the song's lasting impact went far beyond breaking that particular barrier. Bush's theatrical approach to pop music, her willingness to be weird and wonderful in equal measure, opened doors for countless female artists who followed. She proved that pop music could be literary, dramatic, deeply personal, and still connect with mainstream audiences. The accompanying video showed Bush's background in dance, with interpretive movements that were as unconventional as the music itself. She was creating a complete artistic vision, not just recording songs. EMI executives had been nervous about releasing something so unusual as a debut single. But Bush insisted, and the song's success vindicated her artistic instincts. It established her as an artist who would always follow her own vision, regardless of trends or market expectations. Number 4. Got to Be There by Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was still a member of the Jackson 5 in October 1971, one of Motown's biggest acts. But at just 13 years old, he was about to launch the solo career that would eventually make him the king of pop. Motown Records recognized something special in the youngest Jackson brother. While all the Jackson 5 members were talented, Michael possessed a vocal ability and stage presence that transcended his age. Label executives decided it was time to showcase that talent in a solo context. The song they chose for his debut was a gentle ballad written by Elliot Walensky. It had originally been offered to the Supremes, but hadn't been recorded. Producer Hal Davis worked closely with the young singer to craft an arrangement that showcased his already remarkable vocal abilities without overwhelming them. Jackson's voice on the recording was pure and emotional, carrying a maturity that seemed impossible for someone so young. The arrangement featured lush strings and subtle orchestration that supported rather than competed with the vocals. Everything was designed to let his voice remain the central focus. Released as a single in October 1971, it climbed to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the R&B chart. The solo debut didn't conflict with his Jackson 5 work. Instead, it ran parallel to it, establishing Michael as both a team player and a singular talent. The success of this debut single proved that Michael Jackson could carry a song entirely on his own. It was the first step on a journey that would see him evolve from child star to global phenomenon. The shy teenager who recorded it in 1971 would go on to become the best-selling solo artist of all time. Over the next few years, he would continue releasing solo material while maintaining his role in the family group. But this debut marked the moment when the world first heard Michael Jackson as a solo artist, and that voice would never stop evolving. Number 3. Virginia Plain by Roxy Music. British music in 1972 was about to get considerably more interesting. Bryan Ferry had assembled a band unlike anything on the scene, combining art rock sensibilities with glam aesthetics and a sound that drew from 1950s rock and roll, avant-garde experimentation, and contemporary pop. Roxy Music's debut single dropped in June 1972, and it immediately stood out from everything else on the radio. The song name-dropped contemporary artists and cultural references with knowing sophistication, while Phil Manzanera's guitar and Andy Mackay's saxophone created a sonic landscape that was simultaneously retro and futuristic. Ferry's vocal delivery was cultured, but not pretentious, sophisticated yet accessible. He sang about modern life and pop culture, with an ironic distance that never quite tipped into cynicism. The song had the energy of early rock and roll filtered through art school sensibilities, which made perfect sense given that most of the band members were indeed art school graduates. The production was deliberately dense, with multiple instrumental layers creating a rich tapestry of sound. Brian Eno's synthesizer work added textures that were still relatively uncommon in pop music. Everything about the recording announced that this band was thinking differently about what rock music could be. The single peaked at number 4 on the UK charts, establishing Roxy Music as major players in the emerging glam rock scene. But unlike many of their glittery contemporaries, Roxy Music had genuine substance behind the style. They weren't just about platform shoes and makeup, they were musical innovators who happened to look fantastic. The success of this debut single established them as trendsetters, who would influence everyone from David Bowie to Duran Duran and countless new wave bands in the decade that followed. They proved you could be smart and stylish and successful all at the same time. That artistic ambition and commercial appeal weren't mutually exclusive. Number 2. Ex-Offender by Blondie. New York's punk and new wave scene in 1976 was exploding with creative energy, but Blondie was bringing something different to the table. When they released their debut single in June 1976 on Private Stock Records, it was immediately clear this wasn't just another 3-chord thrash session. Debbie Harry's vocals were simultaneously tough and glamorous, combining the attitude of punk with the polish of 1960s girl groups. The band's musical approach drew as much from the Shangri-Las and the Ronettes as it did from the Ramones and television. This fusion of punk energy with pop sensibilities would become their signature sound. The song, originally titled something far more provocative before the label insisted on a change, had a groove that distinguished it from the more aggressive punk emerging from CBGB. Chris Stein's guitar work was melodic and structured, while the rhythm section provided a solid foundation that never overwhelmed the vocals. The single didn't immediately conquer the charts, but it established Blondie's template, punk energy filtered through pop songwriting, with Harry's iconic presence providing both the visual and vocal hook. They were too pop for the hardcore punk purists and too punk for mainstream pop radio, which meant they were perfectly positioned to transcend both categories. Debbie Harry's look and attitude challenged conventions about what women in rock could be. She was glamorous, but not soft, tough, but not trying to be one of the guys. She created her own lane, combining elements of Marilyn Monroe's blonde bombshell image with a downtown New York edge. Over the next few years, Blondie would evolve dramatically, incorporating disco with Heart of Glass, reggae with The Tide is High, and rap with Rapture. But this debut single showed they were never going to be easily categorized or confined to any single genre. Number 1. Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. By 1975, Bruce Springsteen was on his third album and still hadn't broken through to national consciousness. Columbia Records was losing patience. The label had already invested in promoting 2 Springsteen albums, and while critics consistently praised him, the public remained largely unaware of his work. Springsteen knew this album had to be different. He spent months crafting the title track, layering instruments, and perfecting every detail with an obsessive attention rarely seen in rock music. The production was dense and dramatic, inspired by Phil Spector's Wall of Sound, but adapted for rock and roll's narrative storytelling tradition. The arrangements featured glockenspiel, strings, multiple guitar parts, saxophone solos, and pounding drums, all supporting lyrics that read like poetry. Springsteen was writing about escape and transcendence, about finding salvation through love and music and the open road. The song captured something essential about being young in America, about dreams that felt both urgent and impossible. When the single was released in August 1975, it changed everything for Springsteen. The song didn't become a massive chart hit, peaking at number 23 on the Billboard Hot 100. But chart position didn't tell the whole story of its impact. In October 1975, Springsteen appeared on the covers of Time and Newsweek simultaneously, an achievement unprecedented for a rock artist. The headline proclaimed him the future of rock and roll. The album Born to Run went on to sell 6 million copies, and Springsteen transformed from a potential label dropout to an American cultural icon. This wasn't technically his debut single as an artist, but it was the song that created the legend. Before this, he was a promising talent that critics loved, but audiences hadn't discovered. After this, he was the boss. The song captured something essential about American dreams and American realities, about the tension between where you come from and where you want to go. These 10 songs didn't just launch careers, they changed the entire landscape of popular music. From Aerosmith's power ballads to the Ramones' punk revolution. From Rod Stewart's storytelling to Bruce Springsteen's American anthems. From Kate Bush's theatrical vision to Toto's studio precision, each of these debuts marked the arrival of something genuinely new and necessary. The 1970s gave us these moments when unknown or underappreciated artists stepped forward and announced themselves to the world. Some climbed to the top of the charts immediately. Others took time to find their audience, but all of them changed music in ways that continue to resonate today. If you enjoyed this journey through the debut songs that shaped the 1970s, Please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories about the music and artists that changed everything. Thanks for watching.